Hi guys, how's it going? So this is our weekly update for Sunday the 10th of April, I think it is. So last week, very important week, saw the Taoiseach's visit. Um, I did give you a sort of debrief on how all that went. But just to reiterate the fact, it was a very successful weekend for us. Um, a strange weekend or a lead up to that weekend in terms of how things came about. But the takeaway is what's most important, and I believe that resulted in the Taoiseach going down the road an awful lot wiser, like I said, and we have seen movement on the back of that, which I'll take you on to in a second. One thing that didn't happen last weekend and should have happened last weekend, to my mind, and I think the question needs answered, as to how come Donegal County Council did not have a meeting with the Taoiseach. Why was that not arranged in advance? And it is obvious that it should have been, because with 350 applications stalled, the Donegal County Council is the heart in the administration of the 9010 scheme, the current scheme, and yet nobody saw it fit to ask for that meeting. Donegal County Council should have been asking for help, should have been saying to the Taoiseach's office, we really need this to happen, so as we can explain our cause and have people understand, have the Taoiseach understand why this scheme is stalled effectively at the minute. That didn't seem to have happened, or if it was requested, how come it wasn't honoured? I'm not sure which of the two it is. All I do know is it didn't happen, and it should have happened. And if it hadn't have been for our MAG meeting with the Taoiseach, the business meeting that we asked for and insisted upon, then I'm not sure, would have been any further at all, and a massive opportunity missed in terms of the Taoiseach being here. But it wasn't missed from our part, and we can hold our heads high on that one. So I think that still needs answered. I would like to see the answer on that. I thought maybe that last council meeting this week would have referenced that, but it didn't seem to. But I do know that there needs to be that level of urgency exerted from Donegal County Council onto the scheme and the constraints within the scheme, just as we're doing as homeowners, to make sure that they're making the very best of whatever opportunity arises for this scheme to work in advance of the new scheme overtaking it, which whatever could be the back end of the year or the start of next year. We just don't know when that's going to be yet. So that's that part. But our part came across very well. We did have a meeting then on Monday. So I took them through again, as with John O'Connor and Kevin Dillon. We had Michael Carr there, who's sort of like an independent consultant. He doesn't cost us anything, but he's sympathetic to our cause and has been with us all along from back in Paddy's early days. And we also have, importantly, Martina Hegarty from Mayo, who is representing Mayo extremely well in these meetings and has open access now to John O'Connor and Kevin Dillon, as I have myself, and she's built up that trust and rapport that that can be done, and they're respecting that accordingly. So at that meeting, we took them through the cheat sheet that had been given to the Taoiseach with funneled down, narrowed down key priorities. And anybody needs to see that again, go back to that last video that I did on the update after the Taoiseach. You'll see the link on there, click on that, and you'll see exactly what was there. It's built around the three pillars. First one being 100% redress, second one is around that 40-year state-backed guarantee, and the third one is excluded homes. Okay, so it's a lot of fine detail in there, but important detail in there, and I'd encourage you to make yourselves familiar with that. So well, they seem to be already familiar with it as we read through it, which was great, because somebody has asked questions of somebody in the meantime since the Taoiseach had been up with us on the Saturday. So definitely conversations were had after that and before that 12 o'clock meeting that we had. So that was really good and encouraging. There has been some updates from that. I'll just take you through it very quickly. It came through to me today here, and I've shared it with our own team. So it said, I'll just read it for you. Michael, for your update this evening, I would suggest, number one, rental properties, there is expected to be flexibility for those who have shown a pattern of renting. We've been asking for that all along. It is strongly advised, however, that if you have not done so, you should register any current tenancy with RTB ahead of the bill for the legislation being published, and that is expected to happen at the end of this month. So that point alone get yourself RTB registered if you're not already. But for people looking back the way in terms of eligibility, they're hoping to work with that pattern of renting as opposed to being RTB alone. RTB registered on the 1st of November, which is the first criteria that we were facing. So that's really good, and that's in the direction we've been asking for. So really pleased to see that. It's not over the line, none of this is, but that's what they're hoping to get over the line, and they're declaring that now, which I would hope would suggest they must have fairly strong confidence they can make it happen. Second point is around holiday homes. They're saying, although currently excluded, there is to be a review of the new scheme within the next 3 years. We were never expecting holiday homes, even if they had been in the first time announcement of the enhanced scheme, over the line at this point, because they're not living in them homes full time, and the full time families that are in there, be they rental families or principal private residents, would be sorted out first. We all knew that. Even the holiday homers were saying themselves they didn't expect to be jumping in front of them. There's no way we're going to have all our tenancy families and principal private residences knocked out in the first 3 years. So that's probably about good enough timing to come in then and look at that and get that built into the scheme, which is what we'd be hoping will happen. So that's the reference made to it there now. The third point is eligibility of property. We are seeking acceptance that once a property has been deemed eligible and approved for rebuilding or remediation work, that the property can be sold with the benefit of that approval. We are hopeful that this will be approved. Okay. And that again was our request. And if you think back to the Claire McDade scenario, when the Taoiseach was there and I asked him across her kitchen table, if Claire wanted to move on with her life, why, and her house is deemed eligible, in other words, she's stage 1 approved, why does she have to see that through to the end and take on the whole demolish and rebuild, as opposed to sell that off if she wants out? And that is now what they're now referencing here. I have a lot of pensioners that ring up and say, listen, I'm just too old. I don't want to be going through this here. I just want out. And it looks like now at least you've got something of value if you decide to get out before getting your house demolished and rebuilt. You take it through as far as the stage 1 eligibility or approval, and then they're hoping here that you'll be able to sell your property on, and that eligibility is transferable. That was never the case before. So that's big news for us. And then the fourth point is retrospection of grant increases. The Minister has reconfirmed that increases in grant amounts, accommodation costs and storage costs will be paid retrospectively when the new legislation is enacted and made operational. So even though you don't get that now, you keep your receipts, etc. And whenever the new scheme's in place, you'll be paid then back retrospectively. It does mean you'll have to cover them costs in the meantime in whatever shape or form, but it's good to know that's confirmed in writing. We'll be getting that back. The other point then is around transition arrangements. We are seeking to ensure that appropriate transition arrangements from the homeowner's perspective are put in place as we move into from the current to the enhanced scheme. That is big movement in the space of 1 week. I don't believe that would have happened without the Taoiseach being here. Quite simply that. And while this is not the end game for us by any manner of means, this is the first time in a good while that I could this day say to you that there has been movement in the right direction. There's been a change of that very hard-nosed position that they had, and I believe that's down to the Taoiseach's intervention. And I think that's really important for us. Just very quickly then, the last thing I would say is that just the whole Ukraine thing. I was over on Thursday night there at Malin GAA, just a Gaelic club in North Donegal here, and we had quite a strong public turnout to see what we can do for them. Got talking to some of the families themselves, and it's actually, it is quite horrific what they're going through, and you'll all know that from reading the news there. Now, there is massive supports being put in place for them, and that is absolutely, in my mind, my personal view, not Mike Action Group's view, my personal view, the right thing to do. But why I'm also conscious that it's very interesting to see what can be pulled into place, and is rightly being pulled into place, but it tells me that there is potential to do similar type things for mica and pyrite affected homeowners that hasn't just happened yet. So I think that needs to be called out, and we need to be pushing them hard on that, and we will be doing that here this week. The other thing I would just say for Mayo, Martina put a video out regards the threshold there. Have a look at it in the North Mayo Pirate Action Group. have a look at that. I think it's very important as well. And we've got lots of things still to do, but a good week.